Hello, everyone. Meteorologist Brian Good here. The final edition of Snow Talk. I was hoping to do it last Friday, but I was out, unfortunately, Friday. So today is the last day. Tomorrow, a new title will be given. But how fitting that as we wrap it up, we get the biggest snow we've had in quite some time. There's the stats. See the bottom there. Our season snowfall now is 27.6 inches. That is more than last year. And it's not far from the 10th snowiest ever, which is around 30, 31 inches. So, could we hit that? I'm not going to wish anything, because everybody will lynch me if I do. But never say never around here. We had snow until March 25th last year. So, I'm not going to say the snow is over with for the season. I can't say it yet. But, at least things are looking much more promising for the warmer air to win out. And that's the great thing about the month of March. But our totals here, look at this map. This shows you anywhere where you see the white area is 12 inches plus. It's off the scale. The purple area is about 6 to 8, and then you drop off to the 4 to 6 and 2 to 4 from there on out. But it was right along the area that we were highlighting for the heaviest of snow, right along Louisville to the south. That zone was the zone we were highlighting. And I know some people were trying to cut back on totals because the models cut back, and we were like, no, we're not doing that. And we didn't do that for a reason, because the model QPF always will waver, but you got to focus on the overall potential of the system and the location that has the best chance to have forcing to take place and those bands to develop. And that was still showing up strongly in the models. And sure enough, that's exactly what ended up happening. And we just know what the high end would be. I didn't think it was going to be 25 inches, did you? And that's exactly what fell into Radcliffe. That's the highest so far reported out of the storm, is the 25-inch total. Louisville is at 11.9 officially, almost a foot. Don't you wish we just had one more flurry to get us to a foot? But 12 to as much as 19 inches in the southern part of the county. Mount Washington, 20 inches of snow. 18 to 20 across Bardstown, up lower 20s, close to 2 feet into Hardin County. Very impressive totals out there, so thanks for all the pictures and reports. But what a mess we've got on 65. I feel for these folks here, and I'm not sure why that's the case, because we were trying to give as much heads up as we could about the potential of this, even being up to a foot of snow, if not more. So it's alarming to see how many people, first off, were traveling that time of the night. Hopefully you just had no choice. You had to do it, because we were trying to prevent people from leisurely going out and making plans, considering the intensity of the storm system. But and it's sad that they're still stuck out there. So we'll keep an eye on that story as it continues to unfold. Snow's over with. You may see a few flakes or flurries of some of these clouds outside, but they're over with. In fact, the clearing line, it's hard to tell it because looking from space, you can only tell what a cloud is by anything that moves. And there's the clearing line right there. It's a sharp one, too, about to cross into downtown Louisville. And most of the clouds now off to the east. And the clouds, as they move out, they're revealing the snowpack. This is going to be a pretty shot in about 2 hours, and we'll post it online as soon as the cloud cover clears our forecast area. But it's going to show quite the snowpack over the area. So now let's talk about temperatures, because that is going to be our next big story in the next 12 to 24 hours. You see where the snow has been. The clouds keeping these numbers down here in Campbellsville, but even in this area, lower 20s, up to 29 in Paoli. We may jump into the mid to upper 20s here, but that's the best we're going to do. But here's the interesting thing about the models that are looking ahead into the forecast. I wish this would click. It didn't click. I apologize. But the models are taking us down to about 14 below zero tonight. And the raw data is what I'm going with there. Some of the other models are only saying 4 below. This reminds me a lot of 1994. The models were saying 4 below zero in 94. We had 22 below. And we had pretty much the same snowpack that we got now, if not more. So we're going to aim on the idea of the colder raw data. So when you see our numbers in the forecast, right now I think I got 10 below in on the midday show. We may have to lower that. So prepare for record cold. It'll be the second time ever in history in Louisville we've dipped below zero in the month of March. So after we get past that, question is, when are we going to warm up? What's ahead for us? Well, several things. The cold air, first off, for the weekend, the models are trending backwards on the highs, and I agree with that completely. So we're going to go slow. We may not get out of the 30s for this weekend, despite some sunshine off and on, although Sunday looks pretty cloudy, and with a chance of rain, there is going to be a weak wave that'll pass through here Sunday. I'll show you that in a second. Could give us a few rain showers. At this point, it looks to be rain, but we'll have to watch that, because if we don't get too warm, if there's any moisture to fall in, it could be either sleet or even some freezing rain. It doesn't look heavy at all, and it doesn't look to be a big deal, but I just want to at least throw that out. That's something we'll watch, because temperatures are highly questionable for the next few days with this snowpack at play. Once that wave moves out on Sunday, finally we get a chance to get a good south flow into our area. But it's not going to race in quickly. It's going to work its way in. We'll have a day into the 50s, and then eventually we'll get some 60s in here, and not far from 70. If the snow melts enough, and it should, we'll get very close to 70 by the end of next week. There are signs of another Arctic front that is going to try to make a run toward us. Now, at this point, I don't see enough data to say it's going to come right on through. It should stop around Chicago. It is going to help pull in a tremendous amount of moisture and heavy rain into the southeast corner of the country, including us, for next weekend. And that will be our biggest concern now. With the melt and any heavy rain we get, by far, we've got to be on alert here for flooding. River flooding is going to be a concern probably for the rest of the month, if not the season. Because we've now set the stage for saturated frozen ground, and if we get any more heavy rain events and we don't get enough space between them to dry out, which we usually don't in the spring, then we're going to run into problems, and that is a fear of mine as we head into spring. The headline could be flooding. So heads up for next weekend. That warming trend could lead to heavy rain, and there is some more cold air that does show up down the road. But at this point, again, I don't see anything that says snow or anything. But anytime we get cold shots coming down, we still got to be watching for that slight risk anyway, for at least another month. Okay, here's that weak wave. Here's the Canadian model. This is for Sunday. And again, surface temperatures around 34, 35 when that moisture drifts through. It's not too excited about it. It keeps both waves separate. There's only a minor amount of phasing that's trying to happen. And that's the debate, is how much of a phasing will happen here. But we'll watch that because, again, I don't want to add any more frozen precip in the forecast, so we'll just ignore that part for right now and just kind of keep an eye on Sly on that one. All right, here's what the GFS looks like for next weekend. You see that Arctic front I was talking about moving in from the north, and you see the moisture just surging in, heavy rain, thunderstorms. And interestingly enough, this shouldn't really surprise you, but for the GFS model, for several runs now, has indicated by the middle of the month here, if not shortly after that wave for next weekend, that a tropical low develops in the Gulf. Hey, why not? Let's just throw a hurricane in all this and see what happens this month. But it does try to send in heavy rain into our neck of the woods later in March. Boy, wouldn't that be something? It's a long way off, who knows? But it would just fit how things have gone for us. All right, speaking of flooding, this is going to be our concern too. Watching the river status, we have flood warnings in effect for several rivers in the area, including the Ohio. Here's the Ohio River forecast for the McAlpin. This, I believe, is the upper gauge. It was updated at noon today. Flood stage is 55 feet. It is now forecast to go above that into minor flooding. So you'll start to see maybe the benches in downtown, the Waterfront Park, and probably River Road. The water is going to entrench here this weekend into early next week in downtown. So heads up on that. The Rolling Fork down to the south there in Boston, it is forecast to hit close to moderate stage here for flooding. Flood stage is 35 feet. It's forecast at 41.3. And the Green River as well, which is not on here. I apologize for that. But the Green River also has the potential there to see flooding about say several inches above the flood stage in Greene County itself there. Okay, ignore that map. That map doesn't mean anything, but at least want to get those flood stages out. All right, guys, we got a lot to cover the next few days. The snow and the melt and the flooding potential, but at least there's some warm air to talk about, so let's soak it up while we can. Stay warm and take care of each other, especially with this cold weather tonight.